About a month ago, I made a video covering an album hidden on YouTube by Earl Sweatshirt and The Alchemist. Unfortunately though, it was never found. In the video, I made the claim that I have never seen an artist leave behind clues like Earl Sweatshirt presumably was, but someone in my comments brought it to my attention that I was wrong. They made me aware of a song by Childish Gambino that was hidden beneath many layers of clues and code, but unlike the hidden album, it was actually found. So join me today as we look into the search for the secret song. Also, I want to mention that I'm not the first person to cover this. The person in my comments actually pointed me to a TikTok video by Dissect Podcast about this, but it was a little bit too fast paced for my tiny brain, so I decided I'd elaborate on it a little bit more in depth on a YouTube video. I was completely unaware of this secret track, but to be fair, I was only like 12 when all this was going down, so cut me a little bit of slack. But I thought it was super interesting and I figured I'd share it with those of you who are not aware in this video, so let's check it out. The story begins in 2013 when Childish Gambino released the album Because the Internet. If you're not familiar with Childish Gambino, whose real name is Donald Glover, he's an actor, comedian, musician, director, and much more. He created and stars in his own TV show and has been writing and acting for a very long time. However, his most notable acting performance probably of all time was when he was featured in Regular Show. What are you, a rat, a squirrel, some kind of fat meerkat who thinks he's rad, and look at that. That's a joke if you couldn't tell, but I actually just rewatched Regular Show and it's a great series. His acting career though is important to note because when he released his album Because the Internet, he released it with a screenplay that came with the vinyl and it was also released online. There was also a precursor to the screenplay that he released on his YouTube called Clapping for the Wrong Reasons. At different points throughout the screenplay, it would instruct you to play specific songs from the album. Essentially, it was a storyline to go along with the album, which is why these songs on the album had Roman numerals in front of them. At one point in the screenplay, you are instructed to play a song called Secret Track 9.5 Coded. However, that isn't a song on the album and no one knew what it meant. Fans began looking for it, but there wasn't much they could do with the lack of information that they had. About a year later though, Childish Gambino released his EP Kauai, and on that EP there was a remix of 3005 called the Beach Picnic version. He tweeted out, "Kauai is out on iTunes and Spotify," and it leaked, and yeah, the 3005 remix should help with the secret track. When listening to the remix though, it's pretty apparent that there should be more to it because all that's on the song is 3 choruses with space for 2 verses. This tweet motivated Gambino's fans to try even harder to find the secret song. Fans noticed that every time he would play a song from the screenplay website's audio player, there was an audio ID for each song, but the secret track was missing an audio ID. If you're struggling to understand what I mean by this, basically on his website where he released his screenplay, there was a built-in audio player, so when you were instructed to play a song, it was pretty easy to play it right off of the website. So what fans were doing is they were looking at the source code of the website and they were also using Inspect Element on Google Chrome so that they could look at all the code relating to the songs. This is just what I read, by the way. I don't actually know anything about coding, if you couldn't tell, but they were doing something with some codes. One fan even made a little program or utility that would test different audio IDs in the audio player. So as you can tell, they had a lot of smart people trying to crack this code. They brought out the Best Buy Geek Squad to find this secret song. Actually, they just asked r/coding and r/programming for help. They even noticed that the songs were coded with a shift cipher of 13, which is basically just where the original letter is shifted over by 13 letters. So for example, the letter A is N, B is O, C is P, and so on. They were looking into every single detail they could think of relating to this code, but they couldn't find anything. After a whole lot of hard work and no results, the following day, Reddit user Peepsy112 made a Reddit post saying, "Has anyone heard this before?" with the secret track linked below. The secret track was an acapella that when put on top of the Beach Picnic version of 3005, it fit perfectly and filled in the verses. Thus, the secret track was found. Childish Gambino even confirmed it himself on Twitter. The way that Peepsy112 was actually able to find the secret track was by typing in lemon grab for the audio ID. Everyone was trying all these different and complex codes, even creating programs to test different audio IDs, and the password was simply lemon grab. Why lemon grab, you may ask? Well, in the screenplay, right before it instructs you to play the secret track, it says, "That was unacceptable, lemon grab unacceptable," which is a reference to Lemon Grab from Adventure Time. Unacceptable! You might think that an Adventure Time reference is odd, but Donald Glover has actually said that he's a pretty big fan of Adventure Time, and he even voiced Marshall Lee in a few episodes. Fans have even speculated in his short film Clapping for the Wrong Reasons, he's vaguely referencing lemon grab when he's grabbing lemons from a lemon tree, but that could just be a reach. It might not have been intentional, I'm not really sure. Regardless, fans were in awe that after they had looked into the source code and the Inspect element, that the answer was hidden in plain sight, and that it all came down to an Adventure Time reference. The hidden album that I mentioned in the beginning of this this video actually has a very interesting correlation to Childish Gambino. In Donald Glover's show Atlanta, Earl Sweatshirt is seen playing a character known as Blue Blood, who is based on and is a tribute to MF Doom. Blue Blood sends people on a wild goose chase full of clues to find his hidden music, which is suspiciously similar to the hunt for Earl Sweatshirt's hidden album. So if you found this video interesting, I highly recommend checking out the video on screen right now because it has a very similar and fascinating story.